Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the ABA Coffee in the Park. My name is Cam Milliken, and I am here with my co-host extraordinaire, Jennifer Herrick, the Executive Director of the Atchison Business Association. Hi, Jennifer.
Well, hello, Cam. How are you today?
I'm cold, Jennifer. It's like minus, actually, let me look at my phone right now.
You know how I knew it was really cold? Besides going outside, Cam, you're wearing a puffy coat today.
I know. It's minus, right now, my phone says minus 25, and tonight it's going to go down to minus 31.
Okay, for our listeners, it is rare that Cam walks into the office with a jacket.
It is so cold outside. It is unbelievable.
Okay, do you know what it reminds me of a little bit?
No.
Don't get mad at me.
What's that?
The Seinfeld episode where George is wearing the puffy coat and he's like knocking over all the liquor in the liquor store.
Oh, I know.
It did remind me of that.
Yeah, sorry. Well, it's like so cold outside. It's just freezing. Anyways, but hey, everybody, we are coming to you from the Wall Coffee Roasters in the heart of beautiful downtown Atchison. That's right. So if you hear any noises in the background, some people talking or kids screaming or machines whirring, it's because we actually are live right now at the Wall Coffee shop here in Atchison, where it's minus 25. Anyways, Jennifer, tell us about some very important people.
We would like to thank our gold corporate sponsors, which include the MyShack group of companies,
iShacks,
Genix, Parkland County, and our new gold corporate sponsor this year, Bow Valley Credit Union.
Bow Valley,
who have a branch here
right.
in Atchison, in the industrial park.
Right next to our office.
Right next to our
Matter
office.
Matter of fact, they kicked you and I out of our original office.
Oh, there's a story.
Yeah, there's a story. And now we're next door.
But we're happy the bank is here.
No, we're glad the bank is here.
Yes,
They're awesome.
They are awesome
And so,
people.
yeah, you should check out the Bow Valley Credit Union with branches all across southern Alberta and now Edmonton. So, kind of cool. Anyways.
Don't tune us off.
No.
We don't have a guest.
No guest today.
But I think you will really be entertained.
I don't know. I'm very scared of this
So
podcast.
Cam and I are going to share a little bit of our story behind the story, and we are going to ask each other some questions.
Oy. Okay, well, I guess.
I'm starting.
You're starting?
Yeah. I'm going to ask the question.
Okay, all right.
Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Cam?
Yes, Jennifer?
Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up.
Okay, I was born in the city of, well, I don't think at that time it was a city, but I was born in Grande Prairie, Alberta.
You were?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. And I lived there till I was the age of 2. And I moved to Edmonton. My dad passed away, so my mom moved us back to Edmonton, and I grew up in Edmonton. And today reminds me of those days that I grew up in Edmonton because I had to walk to school every day.
Okay, there was no such thing as canceling school because of cold weather.
What's this? Oh, school's canceled.
I know.
Not in my day. Not in your day.
No.
I had to walk to school. It was only 2 blocks, but minus 30. And by the time I got to school, I was like frozen. Like everything was frozen. And yeah, so that's what I remember about growing up and in Edmonton. And the summers and all that were great too. But man, I don't know. I think it was colder back then than it is now.
Oh, I agree. I think we have no idea now.
No.
Okay, but where in the city of Edmonton did you live?
So I grew up at that time what was called sort of central Edmonton, 124th Street area. And, I lived there with my mom for a while, and then we moved to another place, more central Edmonton. But that's where I lived for a long time. All my friends were there, went to elementary school, went to junior high school. Then we moved, and then I went to Ross Shepherd Composite High School.
People have heard you talk about Ross Shep.
That's right. So Ross Shep was a pretty big deal in those days. It's where, I got to be honest, it's where a lot of the rich kids went. I wasn't rich because I'm a single family, single mom, all that kind of stuff. But all my friends had a lot of money. And they drove like their cars, and I didn't have a car.
Did you take the bus?
I took the bus.
Yeah.
Yep, I took the bus.
City bus?
City bus. Oh, yeah. Hopped on the bus and away you went and all that kind of stuff. Got my bus pass.
Yes. It was important.
But I always lost my bus pass, so I always had to tell the driver I lost it. And he'd say, you can't get on. And so I'd say, please. And he'd say, okay. And that was, I got to ride the bus. So
convincing even back then.
Yeah. And then when I was 16, I got my driver's license. Because in those days, do you still get driver's license?
Yeah, at 16.
Yeah.
You can get your learners at 14.
No.
Yes.
I think I did at 14.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I got my driver's license when I was 16. And then my mom, she worked every day. And she would let me drive her to work. And then I get to take the car to school. And then
Your mom let you do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
But it was an okay car. It was, for a while, it was a Nova, 1976 two-door Nova. And all my friends, because I went to the rich high school, they drove their parents like Mercedes and BMWs and everything like that. So, yeah. So I parked my car at the far end of the parking lot, and they all parked close to the door. And then, yeah. So then I'd go pick up my mom and then, yeah, go home.
Okay, what did you do? What did you do in school? Did you play sports?
Well, I did. Obviously, most of you have probably never seen us. We'll change that. We'll put us out so you know. But I'm not that tall. I'm a little bit vertically challenged. I was quite small. I was still in junior high, late junior high, grade 9. I could still buy my clothes in the children's department of the store, which was a deal. I could get into in high school. I could get into the movies for a child, which was kind of good that way, but not other ways.
No.
So, and the problem was, to be totally transparent, totally honest, is I was a little bit lippy. I was.
This shocks me.
No,
about
I know
you.
it does because, but but here's the thing: is I was really. Like I was skinny. Like now you look at me and go, what happened? Like no doubt. But I was really light. Like I was really, and I could run
really
like
fast?
the wind. Oh yeah. Matter of fact, I ran track and field in high school and stuff, and I did really, really well. But anyway, I could run. So the problem is I would lip people off, and then I'd run, thinking, ha, you'll never catch me. But I forgot that I had to go to school the next day, and they'd be waiting. So there were some issues that way, but nonetheless, we made it. We made no pain, no gain. That's what they say.
You're alive. You're here today.
I'm here
so
today.
Obviously, you made it out of high school.
So I played basketball. I was a point guard. I played in high school. I was on the swim team. I loved swimming, so I would get up at 6 every morning in minus 30 like this, and I would get on the bus and I would go to the pool and I'd swim. I'd train, and then I'd walk from the pool. It was right next to the high school. I'd walk from the pool over to the high school, and when it was minus 30, you know how your hair would freeze? Just freeze. It was kind of weird. Anyway, that's what I did. I played. I ran track. I ran 100 meter and 200 meter. I did very well in the province. Even though I was short, I was fast. And then I ran in the relay. And then one day in like grade 12, my swim coach said to me, Cam, you're really good at what you do, but you're never going to go any further. Because to be good in competitive swimming, he said, you're too short and your hands are too little.
How'd you feel about that?
Not good.
No. Self-esteem crusher.
It was a bit.
Yeah.
But I got over it.
Huh.
I got over it. I don't even know how I got over it. I don't know. I got over it. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I did. So but I was really, really into drama.
Yeah. So who was your favorite teacher?
My favorite high school teacher was Mrs. Whalen, my drama teacher, and she was the wife of Ed Whalen.
Okay, tell our listeners who Ed Whalen was.
Ed Whalen was the announcer on Saturday Stampede Wrestling.
A ring-a-ding-dong dandy.
Yes, sir, boy. And like him and his wife were like opposites. Like she was this drama, like, yes, Cam, you must do this and do that. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. And it was like unbelievable. So like, yeah. So, but she was a real encouragement to me, and I was good in drama, and I really liked it. So I thought, well, I really enjoyed that. So the swimming thing was done and over and gone, but the drama thing was good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
drama.
Yeah.
Did you have that as a career path after high school?
I thought for a while.
Did you want to be an actor?
Yeah, she had recommended for me to go to UCLA to do their theater and movie program, and but I you know what? I never did, but I should have, because I'm like the same height as Michael J. Fox, like that. Just that gives you sort of perspective as to where I am in life, and like I thought I could do that. Well, he wasn't big at that time, but now later on I looked at him and thought I could do that, And so I thought I could do that, but no, I didn't.
So your dreams of drama were crushed.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Well, I was a good, faithful churchgoer boy, and I decided to go to Bible college and become a pastor, and that's what I did.
How'd that work out for you?
Well, 33 years of it. That was a long time. Worked out pretty good. Did a lot of. We don't even have enough time to talk about all the things.
No, but you did some really cool stuff.
I did. A lot of it was working with marginalized peoples and hurting peoples. I worked in a lot of ghettos and slums and that kind of stuff. I spent years in Vancouver working in the downtown east side areas and with marginalized peoples, and that's what I did, and that's really what I enjoyed doing. Is I wasn't your sort of conventional type pastor. I liked working in those areas. I did a lot of things. I worked. I was at. When 9/11 happened, I had a good friend who was a chaplain in New York City. He phoned me, said, "You want to come help?" So 2 weeks after the towers came down, I was there working on the pile, doing some things there, working with different groups there. I spent a couple of weeks in New Orleans right after Katrina with a whole team of people helping to clean up and do all that kind of stuff. I spent a lot of time in New York City working in the ghettos, Hell's Kitchen area, that kind of stuff, the Bronx, that sort of thing, working with very marginalized kids, drug addicts, all that kind of stuff. So I spent a lot of my career doing that. Spent some time in Africa, helping with a school there, and all those kinds of different things. So yeah, that's sort of what it comprised of, and I was all over the place. I was lucky I got to travel all over the world, places like Russia and Asia and Africa and Central South America and all over the place.
But Cam, I think that's one of the things that I really admire about you, and I see that so much in what you do is that support for marginalized people and giving back and working in that not-for-profit sector. And you and I have talked about it. We've both done it.
Yeah.
And how I think it's true to your core, and I think that reflects so much as you as a person.
Well, I mean, we've all been given so much, and we don't have to do a lot to give, to give back to marginalized people. But I found my niche in that, and I love people in those settings because they're just so real and down to earth. They're not playing any games with you, and it's great. And so, yeah, it was a big part of my life. It's still, I wish it was I wish I was doing more now, but it really was such a huge part of my life, and I loved every minute of it.
And what great experiences that you got to see and do.
Wow. I mean, yeah, time just doesn't permit. I mean, so many great things. I mean, some of them were harrowing experiences when I was in New York. I remember there were times because in those days, the ghettos of New York were really like they were like.
You just didn't go there.
You didn't go there, especially as a white person.
Yeah.
And we would take teams of white middle-class kids in there to help do feeding programs and all kinds of things. And sometimes I got myself into some little unique situations, and some of them were a bit life-threatening and that sort of thing. Some of the experiences we had in working with especially disaster relief was pretty amazing, and the devastation we saw and just able to help. Sometimes we were just I remember one time we were in New York. I was in New York with a whole team of kids when the Rodney King most people will remember the Rodney King verdict in Los Angeles and how it set riots off around the U.S., especially in the ghettos. And we were there. I was there with a group of kids when the verdict came down, and they had to lock us in a room for 3 days. We couldn't go out. We couldn't go anywhere because the streets were rioting, and especially a bunch of white kids. So finally they had to get us out, and we came home. But lots of little experiences, major experiences like that. Yeah. So,
wow.
Lots of things, and I could probably write a short book about some of those experiences, but they were. I don't regret anything. It's been great. It's been absolutely great. We lived in California for a while, and I remember we lived there in 1991, and I remember we were driving from we lived in Sacramento, and we were driving from San Francisco to Sacramento at about 5 p.m. and that was the year. People who are baseball fans will remember. It was called the Battle of the Bay. It was the World Series between Oakland and San Francisco. And we were driving from San Francisco back home to Sacramento, and we crossed the Bay Bridge, and every traffic stopped, dead stop, and my little truck started bouncing off the pavement. And I just bought the truck, so I didn't have a radio in it or anything like that. I was going to add one later. And we got home to Sacramento, and our answering machine was full of people asking if we were okay. We thought, wow, that was weird. And turned on the television, and that was the year that they had the Bay earthquake. And we timed ourselves back. We crossed the Bay Bridge 5 minutes before it collapsed. Wow. Otherwise, we would have been on the Bay Bridge. And we were thinking of taking the Embarcadero Freeway, which collapsed on top of each other, killed scores of people. And we could have potentially been under there as well. So, yeah. So we moved back to Canada because we don't have earthquakes.
Well, not yet.
Not yet,
you did. Yeah, the coast could very well have one, but
could, yeah.
Generally,
we lived
out
in
here
Vancouver.
in the prairies, it's
we lived in Vancouver for 30-some years, and I remember feeling the tremors there, and it brought back a lot of really weird feelings. So yeah, I've had some pretty unique experiences in my life, but so far it turned out pretty good, and I'm still here to talk about them. So
I think out of all of that, which is absolutely amazing, something that people do not know about my wonderful co-host, he was a rodeo clown.
For a couple years, did amateur rodeo and did some rodeos and hung out mostly all amateur, and with a friend of mine, and did that for a while. And just to be very clear, I was not the bullfighter, what they call today a bullfighter.
Right?
Yeah,
no.
I was
the entertainer.
The entertainer.
Yes.
I was the funny man, and I had a friend Cody. He did steer and bull and stuff like that. And but it's not to say we didn't have some precarious situations. Nonetheless, that's what I did, and so my job was to make everybody in the arena laugh, and especially the kids. And I tried to do my best at that. So there's some stories revolved around that. At one ranch, I had a donkey named Milli.
Milli, yes.
Yeah, Milli was my donkey. And Milli, I would ride in backwards on Milli and stuff like that. Kids would
laugh. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, taught Milli to count a little bit. Fed him potato chips, and he thought that was really cool. He loved potato chips. And so that was really awesome. And then, so I did that for a while, and I really enjoyed that. And but that wasn't going to be a career. So
not a career.
No,
not
I moved
a career
on
forever.
from that. But it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed putting on it. They're very rodeo clowns. They don't even call them that anymore. They call them bullfighters. They're very different today than they were back
absolutely.
then. And but I just was there to have a lot of fun. And I had a lot of fun, so it was good. I rode some steer a little bit and rode a little bareback, but it hurt too much when I fell off. So
safety first.
Yeah, safety first.
No.
It's funny how quickly the earth comes up to you when you're on the back of a moving animal. But anyway,
exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I did. So that's it right there. So yeah. Now I work for Genix.
Now you work for Genix.
And I sit on the ABA board, and I get to co-host this show with you.
With me.
Okay, enough of me.
No.
Enough. Now we get to talk about
oh,
you.
Boy. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Where were you born?
I was born in a small rural town in Shaunavon, Saskatchewan.
Wow. How many people lived in Shaunavon?
I don't even know how many people lived there back then.
When you were born? Like
yeah.
10, 12?
No, more
100?
than that.
Okay.
No, like at least over 2,000.
Okay.
Over 2,000.
And your mom and dad lived on the farm?
We lived in Seattle. We lived in rural Saskatchewan on the farm. My parents farmed.
Yeah.
So we had the farm. Grew up, went to Christ the King Elementary.
Okay.
Which was kindergarten to grade 7.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was no junior high
right.
in the small town. So then the Catholic and the public school merged, and we all went to SHS, good old Shaunavon High School.
Okay.
So grade 8 to grade 12.
To grade 12.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell us about the elementary, junior high years. Were those good years?
As I'm trying to remember elementary.
Elementary. She can't even remember.
I know, I don't even
Elementary.
remember. Yeah, no, elementary was great. It was obviously a very small school growing up.
Right.
Right? You don't go to school with a lot of kids.
No.
And then it's like the big shift when you go to high school because grade 8 to 12, and then like I said, the schools merge and there's a lot more kids.
What was your favorite class in high school?
My favorite class in high school, and it wasn't the class, it was the teacher.
Okay.
And so
His name was
Mr. Ed Maloney.
Ed Maloney.
Ed Maloney.
Ed, if you're listening.
No, he passed away.
Oh, sorry, Ed.
That's okay.
Okay.
But everybody loved him.
Yeah.
He taught me grade 9 social.
Yeah.
He taught me, actually, I think he taught social all the way through.
Oh.
He taught me language arts, or English, I guess it was called.
LA.
Back then. LA.
Took LA.
You know what? I will always remember. I can remember him reading out loud The Outsider to this day. I could probably quote that book.
Yeah.
But he was just one of those really, really memorable teachers,
teachers,
right?
yeah.
He was one of those great teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have a question for you. You were like Miss Popular in school?
No.
No?
No.
Come on.
No. I was like I kind of hung out with everybody. I wasn't, yeah.
Were you like the prom queen?
No, there was no prom.
Oh. I
We didn't have kings or
I know, we
queens.
didn't either. That's
I graduated with 32 people.
32?
Yeah.
Big graduating class.
I was a big graduating class,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah? All right. And but you didn't really say what your favorite subject was.
No, I didn't, did I?
What was it?
Was it typing class?
Typing. Typing class.
Now, this
Folks,
was before computers.
You should see her type now.
I know.
That's
right. Well, maybe not with the injured finger.
No, that's
anymore,
true.
the crooked finger. That's
maybe
a whole
we'll
other
get to that story in a
podcast
sec. But
yeah.
yeah. So okay. So then you were done high school.
Done high school.
32 people.
Yeah.
You graduated.
I did.
You got honors in typing, and you.
Seriously.
And the typing award goes to Jennifer. Anyway, so then you left high school, and where'd you go?
Well, you know what? That was the big kind of controversy because at the time,
Yeah.
so small town, either kids stayed in the small town, right?
Yeah.
They didn't leave.
No.
Or everybody went to the University of Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Or the University of Regina.
Right.
But people didn't really venture outside the province. So here I was, a rebel.
Right.
I came to Alberta.
What?
I did.
Where did you go?
Well, for my first 2 years, and people would have heard Brett Olin talk about this, I went to Medicine Hat College.
You went to Medicine Hat College?
I wonder if Brett and I were there at the same time.
Maybe you were.
Maybe we were.
Whoa.
Wow.
Deja, wow.
I know.
That's incredible.
Maybe we hung out at Ezzy's at the bar together. I
May-
didn't know.
I don't think I want to talk
Okay,
about
we won't talk
Ezzy's and
about
the
that.
bar, but what
Sorry.
That's not even a whole other podcast.
No.
Anyway, okay, but we gotta go back. You were in the summertime in Shaunavon.
Yeah.
Where did you work?
Well, this was during the summers when I would go back when I was in college.
Okay. So where did you work?
I worked, it's still called the Grand Coteau Cultural and Heritage Center in Shaunavon, which is the museum. It's got the museum on one side and the library on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you worked in a museum.
I did.
Night in the museum.
Night at the museum, yeah.
Okay.
This actually sparked my passion for history. So
Right.
that's my first degree, Cam, was in history.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. See, nobody knows that
And then
about
I thought,
you.
what? And the
but
name
wait a
of-
minute.
Yeah.
When you worked in the museum,
Oh, yes.
what was one of your jobs that you told that this is amazing?
I know. So we had a natural history area
Yeah.
in the museum of animals from southern Saskatchewan.
Right.
Don't laugh at this. I know.
I know. This is so funny.
Cam,
Yeah.
one of my jobs, I can't even say it, was
Okay. Just
was to vacuum the buffalo.
vacuum the buffalo.
The stuffed buffalo. Well, he would get dusty.
Oh my goodness. Okay, folks.
You have to keep him clean.
it's a mental picture, folks. Jennifer with a vacuuming a stuffed buffalo.
Yes.
That was your job.
And I was always a little worried he might fall apart because he'd been there for a really long time.
Okay, folks, there's a lot of jobs out there that are unique, but how many of you, show of hands, have ever vacuumed a buffalo?
That's
like,
right.
seriously, unbelievable.
Unique.
No. How often did you have to vacuum the buffalo?
I vacuumed him once a week.
Once. Okay.
I did more than that, but it was a highlight of the job.
Sometimes I wish we did video of these because there are tears running down my face. That's great. Anyways, so if you're anybody out there, if you're needing a buffalo vacuumer, Jennifer has experience. Okay,
I've moved on from that.
Right. Okay. I moved on. Okay. So then you went to.
Well, first I went to Medicine Hat College for the first 2 years because it was a big leap going from a small town, graduating with 32 people, to all of a sudden going to the big city.
This was your first time away from home.
Yeah, of course, right? Yeah. You leave home. So had relatives in Medicine Hat, so did my first 2 years there before going to the University of Calgary.
Right.
Yeah.
And sorry, still Buffalo flashbacks. So what did you take in University of Calgary you took?
So I finished my history degree.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a museum and heritage studies degree.
Yeah.
Because that's initially the field I went into.
Yes.
But then went back and did my business and my master's of business, my MBA
All right.
at U of C.
Yeah, she's got an MBA, folks. She has an MBA. She is one of the smartest people I know. I'm not even kidding you. Kidding you.
I vacuumed a buffalo.
Well, listen. It's our life experiences that make who we are today.
Agreed.
So anyway, okay. So then Then you got your degree, and then you worked you had an amazing job. Tell us about.
I really did.
You loved this job.
I did. So out of university, I got a job. At the time, it was called the Aerospace Museum. It's not called that anymore in Calgary. I think it's called the Hangar now.
Right.
And that was my first job. And it was I was called the curator. So for people that don't know what that role is, in the museum world, that's a person that puts together the exhibits.
Right.
So you walk into a museum and you see all these things put together and placed together.
That's you. That's what you did.
That's what I did.
You put that together.
I did.
Yeah, okay.
I did. And from there, I did that for a number of years. And then I was asked to be the executive director.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I was young,
You were
Cam.
the first
I was the first female
executive director.
I sure was. And I was in my late 20s.
Yeah.
So in a world of the aviation world was very male dominated.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was a huge honor for me to be asked to do that.
And you got to do some cool stuff.
I did. I so did.
You tell us.
Yeah.
You got to do cool stuff.
I did. We had something called Aviation Days, where we would bring in World War II planes.
Yeah.
We would bring in the CF-18s from Cold Lake, the snowbirds. So I got to do a ride along with the snowbirds.
Wow.
It
That
was
is
amazing.
Awesome. That is incredible.
I thought I was going to throw up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you, though?
Close.
You did?
No.
No?
But I almost did.
Good for you.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. That's awesome.
I know.
Because I probably would have.
We got to bring in some of Canada's astronauts.
Yeah.
So I got to meet Chris Hadfield, Roberta Bondar,
Yeah.
Julie Payette. Amazing.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it
That's
really was.
Cool.
So cool.
Wow.
And I think for me, the best part was at the museum, we restored aircraft.
Yeah.
And all of these people were volunteers and all were World War II veterans.
Yeah.
And I just love those gentlemen.
Wow.
They were so amazing.
Yeah.
And the stories. And,
Yeah.
I wish
Yeah.
somebody would have captured
No
those
kidding,
stories now.
Because we're at the point now where we've lost most of them.
Yeah.
Like they're
We
gone.
really have.
Yeah, and
But just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then let's just fast forward to now. But there's more in there. There's tons more in there.
Oh, yeah, but that's all.
Okay, let's fast forward to now.
Okay.
Here you are. You're the
Executive Director
Of?
the Atchison Business Association.
Yes.
Co-host of the
Of
ABA,
Coffee in the Park.
Yeah.
That's right. And so I can see where all of those life experiences vacuuming a buffalo. There's probably probably so many things you do now that stem back to that experience.
You know.
But anyway, and you do an amazing job
thank you.
here. Amazing, absolutely. And so that's quite a thing.
Come a long way.
You come a long way.
But Cam, I've always worked in the not-for-profit
Yes,
sector, and
you
we've
did.
we've talked about
Yeah,
this.
you and
I
I,
could have gone corporate.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
you
my
chose not
passion.
to.
It wasn't in my heart. And you'll never get rich working in not-for-profit, but that's not why you do it.
Ain't that the truth? That's for sure.
Keep trying to win the lotto, and that's not happening
right. All
either.
you can do is put your $10 down and hope you win. But no, that's true. But and I'm not going to deny that I wouldn't like to win. That's not what I'm saying. But I know for me anyway, working in that sector for most of my life, that the rewards are huge.
And that's it. That's why you do it.
Yeah.
Do you actually get to see a difference being made?
Yeah. And that's massive to me. And so, I think you and I are on the same wavelength there, and pretty incredible. Well, you know what? I mean, we could go on for a very long time on both sides here. We've left out a lot
there's a lot
in
we've left
between,
out.
lot. But that's it right there. And that's the story behind the story for your ABA Coffee in the Park hosts.
That's right.
That's us.
But can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
That
You're add anything. You're the co-host.
You know that I went back home recently.
Yeah.
And, why didn't they have these things when I was growing up?
What?
Because there was nothing. And when you're growing up in a small town, you want to get out. Now they've got a great coffee shop.
I know.
They've got bakeries. They've got restaurants.
I know.
Ugh.
But when you're growing up, they didn't have that.
No.
Well, it's the same here. Even in Edmonton growing up, I remember we didn't have, we had the stuff. But there was no Chick-fil-A.
Oh, no Chick-fil-A.
No Chick-fil-A. These first world problems. I remember when McDonald's came to town.
That was a huge thing.
Oh, my mom and I waited in the lineup for a long time for like a 35-cent cheeseburger. It was unbelievable.
35 cents.
Yeah, I know. It was incredible.
Boy.
But you're right. And so, you know what? I think there's a bit of an allure for small towns again, to go back to them.
You know what? I think so too. When you're growing up, you can't wait to get the heck out of
I
there.
know.
But the
But
older
now-
I get,
Yeah,
I know.
I hear you. Well, folks, that's about it right there for this week's version of the ABA Coffee in the Park podcast.
We hope you tuned in and didn't tune us out.
Yeah, if you did tune us out, you're not hearing us say, we hope you didn't tune us out. You're already gone.
That's right.
But I'm going to say this. I couldn't have a better co-host in the whole wide world.
Ditto.
We laugh more off the air than we do on the air. But it's just a lot of fun. And hey, listen, who's our guest next week?
Our guest next
is
it's Mr. Tim Shipton.
Yes.
With the Edmonton Oilers
Edmonton
group.
Oilers. That's
I'm
right.
excited.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
It
So
is.
folks, it'll be a bit more. It'll be
Back to what you're
back
used
to
to.
normal. So hey, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your work associates, tell your enemies. If you don't have any friends, make a friend so you can tell them about the ABA Coffee in the Park wherever you get your podcasts, or you can go to www.atchisonbusiness.com and you can download it from there. So hey, thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Bye everybody.